No, I forgot what I was doing.
Calling the meeting to order.
All right, we are called to order. We need an approval of today's agenda with modification.
I make the motion.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
For clarification, the modification is to remove old business from the
Oh, okay.
agenda? Is that
I'm
correct?
sorry.
Oh, no,
Let's go back. The modification would be to remove old business. So now we need a second for that.
I just wanted to clarify your motion. Was
That's
that your
fine.
motion?
okay. I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. New business. We need to appoint a civil service clerk.
So Rule 1.1 requires that you appoint a civil service clerk at the first meeting of the calendar year. I would request that you appoint me again as the Director of HR as the civil service clerk.
Do we get like a campaign?
I don't have any buttons today,
Just because?
just because I enjoy the honor.
You're running unopposed, huh?
I am running unopposed, yes, sir.
All right,
So I move to appoint Allison Fleming as the civil service clerk.
all right, second.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is carried and approved.
Thank you much. And then the second item, to appoint commission chair and vice chair. Rule 1.1 also says that the commission shall elect its chairperson and vice chairperson at the first meeting of the calendar year. So you as a commission can decide who you would like to hold those positions. You can certainly appoint or elect the same people, or if other people want to be elected, that's your prerogative.
Who's the vice chair now?
I'm the vice chair.
Okay. I move that we keep the same chairman and vice chairman that we had the last year.
I second.
Do the two of you accept the nomination?
Sure.
All
Okay.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is carried,
We're an easy group.
I guess. All right, design and construction coordinator update to minimum qualifications.
Yeah, so we are actually seeking your approval for minimum qualification changes to this position. This position is part of our public works department. They are actually responsible for overseeing and managing the design and construction of projects approved in the capital improvement program. So those minimum qualifications that we are requesting changes to is, currently it says they must possess a valid Iowa driver's license. We are asking to remove Iowa from that qualification. So that way, we don't want to disqualify somebody that applies from the state of Illinois, because they do have 2 years to move to the state after they are hired. The second minimum qualification we would actually like to add is that they must pass a background check as prescribed by the city, and that would complete those minimum qualifications.
Is this a position that normally is promoted, or is it one that typically is hired from the outside?
This is typically an entry-level position because we do not have any jobs below this position that would be in the same job class family.
Okay.
Question? You said that, well, let's see if I heard you correctly. You want to remove the requirement to have an Iowa license because they have 2 years to move to Iowa?
Yes, that
Would it be more logical to say they could, that after that 2 years, they have to have an Iowa license?
We, technically by law, they are required to actually obtain that Iowa driver's license, so that is required by law.
I have one other question, and that is that you don't specify what type of engineering degree they have to have, but over here you have basic civil engineering principles and practices. So am I to assume that they have to have a degree in civil engineering?
It could be that or equivalent. Let me just double check here, 1 second. So it could also be project management as well.
Well, I don't know. Basic civil engineering principles and practices seems to me that you have to have education.
They have have what?
education, some knowledge of civil engineering, and the other part just says engineering, so I'm just confused, since they are different disciplines.
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring Nicole, our Public Works Director, up. 1 second here.
Hi.
Hi.
Nicole Gleason, Public Works Director. So this position, what we found in the past, is if we have an internal candidate apply, we're generally counting their experience. So our most recent hire was actually one of our sewers supervisors. So he had 5 years of field experience in looking at designs, managing crews. So we look at kind of that field experience and reading the blueprints in the field, or having the technical knowledge from a degree somewhat equally in this case, because those skills have seemed to translate, and we've had very successful recruitments looking at it that way.
So they could have an electrical engineering degree, and that's fine, so long as they somehow manage to get the civil engineering principles.
Yeah, so if they have an electrical engineering degree, but then they went, and worked for a construction company, project managing for a couple of years, we would count that
Okay.
experience as that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay,
Next will be our transit operator. The transit operator are responsible for driving our city buses and transporting our passengers throughout the city. So the minimum qualifications that we are looking to update or change. So right now, it says must pass a physical examination. We would like to add and background check as prescribed by the city. We are also looking to update the verbiage to make everything consistent, that all CDL personnel are subject to federal motor carriers random drug and alcohol program. So instead of saying and the Department of Transportation. This position also requires a valid Class B CDL driver's license with air brake and passenger endorsements. Prior to this, it just said that they would need a valid CDL, and they did not list those endorsements. We are also removing issued by the state of Iowa because they could be an Illinois resident. So we want to go ahead and include those other applicants if possible. The other thing that we would like to remove is motor vehicle record must be free of moving violations and convictions for 3 years. What we're trying to do is we don't want to disqualify somebody for having one moving violation that happened 2.5 years ago. However, we would like to have them be held to the same standards as our current driving standards that we have for those that are required to either have a driver's license or CDL currently.
And Gina, before you move on, we had one clarification about the particular agency that regulates the random drug and alcohol program. So Christina was going to talk about that.
So,
I got it.
you got it. The General Transit Authority, which is the Federal Transit Authority, is who is over transit drivers. So instead of Federal Motor Carriers Random Drug and Alcohol Program, it should be Federal Transit Authority.
Okay.
Or FTA, whichever.
Okay. So I will go ahead and update that then to the minimum qualifications if you approve. Any questions?
excuse me.
Sure.
Do things change once in a while, like a background check? I would think that'd been there forever. Do things change over time?
Yep, so as positions become vacant and we start to post these positions, we are looking at each position and making sure that everything is consistent. So that's why we are coming to you with multiple positions over the last few meetings to make sure everything is consistent.
I'm still a little confused on this, no, moving violations for 3 years.
Sure. So right now, the way that it's worded is if somebody were to receive a ticket because they did not see a stop sign 2.5 years ago, I would have to remove them from that process. So instead, with the background check that's being added, when we run that background check, the driving record will be included. And we will hold this position to the same standards that we currently do for all other positions.
And that standard is? 2
There's
years?
several different items on that. Without seeing my chart, I can't tell you specifically, but it's so many moving violations within a particular amount of time. There are several different standards that we have.
And is it clear then that those standards would apply instead of the one line that we've removed?
Sure.
That's correct.
Yes.
So this is more of a language cleanup
Yes.
so that we are following the same procedures we are for other driving positions. So we would still review moving violations, but not solely moving violations.
Do you use a point system?
Guess point system, no.
The whole background check is reviewed, so we're looking
Yes.
for moving violations.
No, I meant for moving violations. You know, a lot of companies use points for the different types of violations that they are, because some are certainly more severe than others. So I was just curious if you do that.
Not necessarily a point system, but it's, the severity is reviewed.
Okay.
Yes.
But this did say that any violation,
Currently, it states any violation.
so in the future, it will be, let's go through. You're going to judge it, you'll evaluate it.
That is correct. We'd evaluate each background check, yes.
There is a typo on here, by the way. Under examples of duties, if you go to the second paragraph, the last word,
Okay,
it should be M-A-N-N-E-R.
thank you.
So,
I will update them. Thank you.
So when you evaluate, it's just gonna be subjective, right? So would you be getting yourself into a position of, you might have approved somebody's violations, but not somebody else's, and I can't think what I'm trying to say, so you made it look like maybe one person was okay when they shouldn't have been?
No, it would be on a case-by-case basis, and again, it depend on the severity and the number.
We
Yes,
have,
we-
we utilize a subjective, objective chart. So there are standardized guidelines that we use internally to review the backgrounds for driving records that we apply to similar positions with driving requirements.
Okay, I think that's what we were trying to
Yep.
find out. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
So we will need an approval, I believe, correct, Allison? Okay.
All right. I would entertain a motion to approve all 4 of them.
So it's currently 2, however, do we need to make a change
Are
to
we
the
doing all at once, or how are we
rule
doing
update?
it?
So with the transit operator, you're moving to approve the update to the minimum qualifications as well. Okay, as well as the design and construction coordinator update to minimum qualifications. If you would take a vote on the updates to minimum qualifications for those 2 positions,
Separately?
that would be fine.
Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the design and construction coordinator update.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'd entertain a motion to approve the transit operator update minimum qualifications. Can't talk today. Minimum qualifications?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, approved.
aye.
Aye.
Got it? Okay, good.
Now, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
do we want to put that back on, what we just voted to take off?
We would.
I think for simplicity, I can just put it on our next month's meeting agenda
Okay.
for the old business, so we can skip over old business as was previously approved and move on to the certification list.
All right, let's do that.
So our first item for certification list is our construction inspector. This is an entry-level position in the Capital Design and Environment Division of Public Works. The written examination was weighted at 30%. The interview was weighted at 70%. Our list is ready to be certified. We have our salary range, and this is part of the AFSCME union. Our minimum qualifications are high school diploma and 3 years of responsible experience in concrete construction inspection or related sub-professional engineering experience, or graduation from a 2-year engineering technology program and 1 year of sub-professional engineering experience. Work experience must include inspection of public facilities, public relations, or public information, or an equivalent combination of training and experience. They must obtain their PCCI, which is the Portland Cement Concrete 1 certification, HMA or hot mix asphalt, and AGG Aggregate 1 certification within the first year of hire and maintained throughout the duration of employment. They must pass a physical examination and background check as prescribed by the city, must possess a valid driver's license and maintain throughout duration of employment, and again, must become an Iowa resident within 2 years of hire and maintain that residency throughout the duration of employment per Iowa Code 400.17. We had 17 applicants. 15 candidates were qualified and invited to participate in the written examination. 4 did not show. 3 scored below 70%. 8 candidates passed the written examination, and 1 did fail that background check. 7 candidates were invited to participate in the interview. 1 did not show. 6 candidates passed the interview. 6 candidates passed the background check, and 6 candidates are on that certification list. And now we have our stats. Moving on, if there's no questions. Next is our pretreatment inspector. This is an entry-level position in the water pollution control plant of Public Works. The written examination was weighted at 100%. The list is ready for certification. We have our salary range, and this is part of our AFSCME union. Minimum qualifications are a high school diploma and 4 years of responsible experience in environmental sampling, inspection of industrial or commercial businesses for code compliance, public relations or related areas, or an equivalent combination of training and experience, must complete satisfactorily the pre-treatment facility inspection course from the Office of Water Programs at California State University, Sacramento within the first 6 months of employment, must possess and maintain throughout the duration of employment a valid driver's license, must pass a background check, and must become an Iowa resident within 2 years of the date of hire per code.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
On that page. The pre-treatment facility inspection course from the Office of Water Programs, California State University, Sacramento.
So
I'm assuming that's an online course?
it is an online
Okay.
course. Yes, they're the only ones that offer it. Yes.
Seems a little odd, but okay.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Seems to me that the requirements for experience or education are pretty slim. Is that okay for this position? You come with knowledge, or is it easy
Sure.
to get?
I'm going to call Nicole back up.
So this is kind of the entry-level position in our lab. So a lot of times we either have people who come from other labs and have base lab experience, and we can train them on the specifics of the water piece versus, you know, the blood piece or whatever else. And then a lot of these, once they get the training and experience, will end up promoting up to our lab chemist position. So in this case, it is okay because this is kind of our trainer position for the higher level ones. Yep.
Thank you.
I have a question too, but it's not for you, Nicole, it's just kind of a general question.
okay.
It seems to me that so many of these that we look at require people to maintain a valid driver's license. And certainly you must have positions where people could use public transportation if they can, you know, are physically incapable of having a driver's license. I'm just curious, do you have this on every single thing? Because is this a position that works in the lab that they would have, or do they have to drive around?
This position will go to different locations, such as the larger factories, and actually take samples from there as well. Yeah. So they will need to drive from different locations.
So you do have other positions that this is not a requirement?
That
then,
is
right?
correct,
Okay,
yes.
good, thanks.
So we did have 16 applicants. 12 candidates were qualified and invited to participate in the written examination. 3 did not show, 1 did withdraw, and 3 scored below 70%. 5 candidates passed that written examination, 5 candidates passed the background check, and 5 candidates are on the certification list. Okay. And then we do have our stats. Okay, any questions?
I have one other question.
Uh-huh.
So I noticed here that the 2 people who failed the written exam were Hispanic. Has anybody ever looked at your exams to see if there really is a language barrier there?
We do review those exams, and it is a great question because it is a concern of ours as well. We are continuing to actually try to get diversity here, employment within the city of Davenport.
Okay.
Okay. Our street heavy maintenance worker. This is a promotional position in the street division of Public Works. Written examination is weighted at 100%. List is ready for certification, salary range, and part of the Teamsters Union. Minimum qualifications, 2 years of progressively responsible experience, the installation, cleaning, and maintenance and repair of municipal services and facilities, or an equivalent combination of training and experience. Must possess and maintain throughout duration of employment a valid Iowa commercial driver's license, Class B, with air brake and taker endorsements. We did have 4 applicants. 3 candidates were qualified and invited to participate in the written examination. 3 candidates passed the written examination, and 3 candidates are on that list to be certified. And we do have our stats.
Why is it, maybe I missed it, why is it important when some jobs they have to move to Iowa and some don't?
So this is a promotional position, so they should have already been moved to the state of Iowa. Any other questions? Okay. And that completes the presentation.
Do we need a motion?
We do.
I move to approve the certification lists that are on the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approved.
And
Now, we're
Chairperson,
going to discuss the next meeting date after we adjourn.
no, I actually have, before you adjourn, Gina is going to pass out some preliminary motions prior to the, that will be considered prior to the start of the hearing. These are just for your review today. No action is needed, but I wanted to provide them to you. Not for discussion today, just for you to take a look at here today.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it anticipated that the meeting will take all day?
We have booked all day, so I would make sure you're available for the entire day, yes.
And that means up till 5 o'clock or 4:30? Or whenever?
I would say probably around 3:15 or 3:30. There is another meeting in this room, so I don't know that we can go past that. If we need more time or another day, we certainly can schedule that, and so that the person appealing has their time.
Okay, now, I don't know if Pat was on the commission. Years ago, we had one of these, but actually the commission had no idea what we were doing. And that's the truth. So is there a structure?
So I
So,
would
that
direct
we
you.
can follow? Because when the city made their presentation, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what do we, I mean, nothing was really very cohesive in terms of deciding. So is there a structure we can have that this thing should flow and come to a conclusion?
Section 3 of your rule book has different procedures for appeal hearings, so if you would like to take your books home and read through that, you certainly may do so. For the hearing, we will make sure that there's a, that both sides have their opportunity to present information and all of that,
But no, I
so.
mean, who to call on and so that the thing moves right along.
Sure.
Okay, obviously I hadn't read section 3.
Nope, and that's why I'm here, to make sure you have that information.
Yeah.
I have one question about the hearing, and since I can't be there, what are you going to deal with this? And I'm just looking at this, motion to reinstate. Why didn't the city file its specification of charges? I mean, if this carries, you don't need to be here the whole day.
I would prefer to talk about the motions at before the hearing next week, that they're not for discussion today. Those motions will be considered at the hearing on Tuesday.
Okay.
I prefer to give you a chance to read through all of the materials, both of the motions there.
Okay, I couldn't hear what you just said.
I'm sorry. What I said was that those motions will be considered on Tuesday morning, and that would be my preference to discuss them at that point.
Right. Should the motion be granted, then there would be no need for a hearing.
Yes, if the commission decided to grant the motion, you would not need the hearing. I know.
Do we have to tell you if we're going to take our book home?
I trust you.
Thank you.
I've got to read it.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
If there are no other questions, I think we are prepared to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with a question. No, the thing we got into a problem, I'll make it short, is we didn't know how to decide. So we took a second, just kind of talked, and I guess that was not the way to do it. We found out later. So is it that, let's say I wanted to go, not wanted to go. I believe a certain way. I have to say that publicly, and he does, and they have to also.
Any deliberations or discussion have to be public. You may not have a private conversation.
Okay.
That's
What we didn't know, so.
Yep, no, very good
So it's not like a
question.
jury where we go into the jury room.
You won't be, yep,
Right.
you'll have a public conversation, yes.
Is there a vote by the commission, let's say, a 3-2 vote, or is,
That will be, yep,
okay.
that, at the you'll consider the motions before you. If you need to have the hearing, then you'll have the hearing, and then you'll make a determination at the conclusion of the hearing.
Gotcha, okay.
And just so that my opinion is stated publicly, that I disagree with that process of not allowing any private conversation, because I feel that the things that'll be said could be hurtful to the petitioner. And
I
I'd rather not do
understand.
that, but I understand that's how we have to do it.
It's important for us to follow the law.
Yeah, it's not up to. Okay. All right, anything else? Entertain motion for adjournment?
So moved?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, we'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, wow.
I'm sorry, we never had.